Hey, Dr. Amber, I just did my first rib weights profile check with the boys today because I feel like they've been eating really well over the past like 2 weeks, after fireworks season. Like,
Okay.
we just wanted to feed them and, we don't want to go out as much because of the heat wave. And I think the boys are gaining weight. So
Man.
it's timing that we will be discussing this weight or overweight in dogs today.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my dog Willow that I just recently adopted, she's on a diet and trying to get her to lose some weight. She was very, very overweight when I got her. So we're getting there. We're getting there. It's
Yeah.
a process.
I
But
know. I want to
she'll get there.
know. I want to know how to really determine like what is the right size for, especially for a senior dog and like an adult dog, because I do have that both now in my household.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Welcome to Unleash Curiosity by Vital Pet Life.
I'm Dr. Amber De Silva, veterinarian and advocate for integrative pet care.
And I'm Donie Yamamoto, founder and CEO of Vital Pet Life. We're so glad you're here.
This is a space where curiosity, compassion, and science converge, where we explore the powerful mind-body connection that supports your pet's health and your own.
Each week, we'll dive deep into the world of pet wellness, breaking down myths, exploring ingredients, and learning from expert voices across the industry.
From nutrition and sustainability to transparency and advocacy, we're here to help you feel more confident, connected, and informed in your care choices.
Let's get into it, because when we know better, we do better. This is Unleash Curiosity. All right. Here's the stat that stopped me in my tracks when we were researching this episode. Apparently, nearly 60% of the pets in this country are overweight or obese right now. Hopefully, my dog isn't one of, or maybe part of the stats, but could be. This is not a dog problem or a cat problem. That's pets across the board. And here's the part that really got me. Pets carrying that extra weight live on average 2 years less than the pets at the normal body weight.
Flip that around, though, and it's actually great news. Being informed and a little proactive can give those 2 years back to your dog or cat. That's worth celebrating. Today, I'll be breaking down why this happens, why it is genuinely not about willpower or bad pet parenting, and how to be proactive so it doesn't happen to your pets.
Dr. Amber, so why this isn't a you problem?
I want to start here because I see the guilt in the exam room every single week with both dog owners and cat owners, and it's almost never deserved. Commercial pet food is formulated to be extremely palatable, and that's a feature, not an accident, because it drives repeat purchase. Treat marketing trains us to use food as affection. And here's one most people don't know. Spaying and neutering, which we recommend all the time for very good reasons in both dogs and cats, measurably lowers the metabolic rate. So same food, same activity level, and the body just burns less than it used to. Add in that most dogs and cats today live a far more sedentary, indoor-first lifestyle than pets did even 20 years ago, especially indoor cats who often have even less built-in daily movement than dogs. And you've got a set of forces stacked against the pet, not a failure of the person holding the leash or filling the food bowl.
What about the number that matters, Dr. Amber?
So Donie mentioned that the 60% figure, and it's worth sitting with that for a second. So that means that the overweight dog or cat is now the norm, not the exception. And vets are so used to seeing it that it's easy for it to stop registering as a problem. And the 2-year figure is real for both species. The extra weight isn't just a cosmetic thing. It's the single most modifiable factor that we have in veterinary medicine for supporting a pet's long-term comfort and mobility. And it's almost entirely within reach once a pet parent knows what to look at. So here are 4 things every dog and cat parent needs to know, and they don't require a vet visit to start. So 4 things to know. Number 1 is how many calories your pet should eat per day for their size, species, and activity level. Number 2 is how many calories are in a cup or can of their current food. Most labels make this harder to find than it should be, unfortunately. Number 3 3 is how many of those daily calories are coming from treats and whether that number has quietly crept up. And number 4, their body condition score, the hands-on check that tells you where they actually stand, not where the bag or can assumes they stand. So here's a 3-point home check. First is a rib check. So you run your hands along the rib cage. You should feel the ribs easily under a thin layer of fat, like the back of your hand, not your knuckles. You do that same check for dogs and cats. So if you have to push in to fill those rib indents, that's extra weight. The second one is a waist tuck. So when you're looking at them from above, there should be a visible narrowing behind the ribs, not a straight line down to the hips. So if they're kind of the same width all the way down, that's too much weight. And then number 3 is that side profile. So when you look under, they're standing up, you look underneath, there should be a tuck up underneath the belly behind the rib cage, not hanging down level with the chest. And then in cats specifically, you want to watch for a low hanging abdominal pouch, a little fat pad there at the back end of the belly is normal, but if it's really heavy and swinging and, close to touching the floor, that's a sign that your cat is overweight.
Goodness. I think Jean Martin, I can still feel the ribs pretty well. Tuxedo, I'm not sure. He's a little bit macho. He's very muscular too. But so I'm a little confused sometimes, but I just, again, I've read somewhere that, a senior dog too, you don't just want it to reduce the food intake right away. But I don't know, I just feel bad that we can't walk and exercise as much now because of the heat. And again, we're hunkering inside the house, straight from 4th of July, because we don't want to go out because of the loud noises. And then now,
I really like this method because it works for basically all body sizes and shapes and breeds, So let's say, because there's some breeds that are more narrow. Let's say a greyhound, they're definitely thinner, more delicate dogs than English bulldogs, but you still should be able to fill ribs, if you have to push in, if they're the same size all the way down, the same width. You can use that in any dog and cat, no matter what breed or shape or size they are.
All right, I'll do that.
Often when I'm talking to owners in the clinic, sometimes they'll say, well, okay, my dog, and I've told them their pet is overweight and they need to lose some weight. Well, okay, he's 50 pounds today. How much should he weigh?
Yeah.
And instead of telling them a specific number, I actually explain this system because I'm that's going to give you a better estimate than, it's called a body condition score. So that body condition score is going to give you a better idea of where your pet is than just the number. Because again, some dogs are, let's say, Frenchies, they're small dogs, but they're stout and thick.
I think that's what we have with Tuxedo, because it's Boston Terrier in him, and he had he also have American Staffy, and then the chest is kind of it's just so weird, weird body.
Yeah. But see, still ribs, waist, tuck up under the belly are easy ways for owners at home to monitor whether their pet is overweight or not. And the good news is this is genuinely one of the most fixable things in your dog's or cat's health. So going back to the 4 things that we've already listed, here's how to act on each one. So first, daily calories. So ask your vet for a target number based on your pet's weight, species, and activity, not what the bag or can recommends, since those guidelines run high on purpose. And I can tell you a personal experience with my own pets, even, starting at the low. So there's always a weight range and how much they should eat for that weight. Even starting at the low end in my own pets, that's been too much for them.
Really?
That's going to make them overweight. And so that's why that body condition score, monitoring that is so important. And there is a pretty simple calculation that you can do or you can ask your vet about for daily calorie requirements in your dog. So based on age, based on activity level, and they can tell you, this is the number of calories that your dog or cat should be eating every day. Okay, so then the calories in the food, the calorie content of the food. So check the label, or you can ask your vet's office to look it up. So you can't manage what you haven't measured. So this matters as much for measured cat food as it does for dogs' kibble scoop. So that's one of the first things when we're having a discussion about weight in the clinic. I ask, are you actually using a measuring cup? Because when they say, oh, we give him 2 scoops a day, well, is your scoop 1 cup or is it a 3-cup scoop? Like you can't just, and you can't eyeball it. It's really, really easy to overestimate. Especially, you have a large breed dog, you have a big old bowl. And so if you're just kind of piling it in there or doing scoops without actually measuring, more than likely you're going to give too much food. It's much easier to give too much than too little food. And then the other thing, calories from treats. So treats should be a small slice of the daily total of the calories, not an add-on. This one catches cat owners off guard too. So a handful, a small handful of small treats adds up fast on a much smaller daily calorie budget. So you can imagine, giving a lab a few kibbles versus giving a 10-pound cat a few kibbles, like it's going to affect the cat much more. The other thing is, when you're feeding a nutritionally balanced diet and you're giving extra treats on top of that, so there's more calories than they need. Well, if we can't just decrease the food, because then we could be limiting the nutrition. They're not getting enough nutrition from the food if we're giving them extra calories of treats that aren't nutritionally balanced.
Yeah.
So it's like, in a human, like if you're eating
bread or pastries, dessert.
Right. Yeah. If you're not eating enough of the good nutrition, but then you're making up the calories with junk food, then obviously you're not getting a good balanced diet. So the same thing in dogs and cats. Yes, we need to worry about the caloric requirement, but we also need to pay attention to the nutrition. So basically they should get all of their calorie requirements really from a balanced diet. And then, so the body condition score, run the rib waist profile check monthly, not just at the annual visit. Weight creeps up slowly enough that sometimes it's easy to miss between checkups. And especially with a cat's fur, hiding early challenges or really fluffy dogs. And, honestly, like I've had a lot of clients come in and be like, oh, he's just fluffy. And it's like, no, I mean, he is fluffy, but he's got a lot of fat under there too. So, you need to be digging down and filling those ribs and looking at the waist and feeling if they're really fluffy and they're kind of, it's hard to see those landmarks, then put your fingers on there and see what their waist feels like and fill up underneath the belly, make sure they have that tuck. So keeping the joints moving as the weight comes down is really important. So, we can't think about being overweight as just extra weight on the joints. Fat tissue is a really active, metabolically active tissue. It's not just weight. So it produces inflammatory products. And so it's not just extra pressure. I just want people to realize that. So that extra weight and joint strain feed on each other, so you have this really overweight pet that's poorly mobile or, having a hard time getting around. They're less mobile and then they gain more weight because they can't burn off what they're eating. So it's kind of, we get into this vicious cycle. So supporting mobility while the pet is heavier and not just after can protect the joints. Doing the work of carrying that weight, whether it's, a dog's hips or a cat's knees. So it's really important to support those joints while we're going on this weight loss journey. Most importantly, salmon oil that's formulated for both dogs and cats and provides omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA to support overall well-being from a different angle.
So make sure to do the rib check on your dog or cat tonight. 30 seconds, no vet visit required, and it might be the most useful 30 seconds you spend with your pet this month. Thank you, Dr. Amber, for your insights.
You're welcome, Donnie. Remember that weight might be the single most fixable thing we can do for our pet's long-term health. This is true for both your dog and your cat, and it doesn't start with a diet plan. It starts with 30 seconds of running your hands along their ribs and waist.
And that's really the point of today's conversation. No guilt, just awareness. Learn 4 key things, do 1 quick check at home, and suddenly a problem that felt overwhelming becomes something you can do tonight for your dog, your cat, or both.
Exactly. Nearly 60% of pets carrying extra weight right now, which means most pet parents have a chance to add real meaningful time to their pet's life just by paying attention to something most of us were never taught to look for.
Well, we're excited to keep bringing you the science behind longer, healthier lives with your pets. And if today's episode resonated with you, please leave us a review, share it with a fellow pet parent, and subscribe so you will never miss an episode of Unleash Curiosity by Vital Pet Life.
Thanks for joining us on Unleashed Curiosity. See you next time.